the Motion Raceworks YouTube channel. Today we're talking about fuel returns, as in the returns that come back to the fuel cell or fuel tank on your car. Oftentimes it's kind of really not thought about, or it's really afterthought. Oh, we'll just stab this line here, this fitting here. But it plays a big role in the function of your fuel system and tune-up and everything else in between. So like many of you, I've kind of worked my way up through the ranks. You know, you start with a maybe a 340 pump, and then you move to a Magnafuel 4303, and then you move to an Aeromotive 5-gallon, and you move to mechanical or whatever. These cars keep getting faster, they require more fuel, and some of the basics go out the window. Some people may or may not have ever known the basics. Some people forget about it because it's really not as pertinent. But as these things move more fuel and become a bigger tuning obstacle, all this becomes way more important. It's something we learned on my Nova. We deal in this stuff every day, and I was kind of forgot about. So I want to show you something we were up against when we originally took this thing to the track. We noticed a couple of weird things on data, and it was kind of throwing us for a little bit of a fit, and we wanted to make sure it was right. So I'll show you what we learned. The fuel cell on my car, this thing was fabricated kind of to my discretion by my buddies at Freeform, and you know, they just built it how I asked them to build it. Return here, feed out the bottom, pretty good sized tank, about 5 gallons, and feeds this mechanical pump here. It's a Waterman on the front of the LT engine. Everything's good. The thing carries fuel pressure and does what it needs to do. But I'll show you what we were working with here. Unscrew this motion billet lid. Nice thing to have if you're used to those little red plastic ones. This thing's a life changer. We have a little custom engraving of my dog Bubba on the front of it. So you'll see that the return is right here. Well, the feed is actually right below it, and we recently added this tube in here that you can see. This thing, when it was going down the track, just on the data log, it had these real spiky trace for fuel pressure. I'll show you right here on the log. Okay, so you can, this is our actually before, I guess, if you're looking at before and afters. This is a pass where we went 728, 197 mile an hour. So this is pre-installing the tube that returns fuel more in a controlled fashion. You can see even on a two-step, the fuel pressure is just all over the place. And then as you get up into the actual run itself, which starts right here, it's just real jagged. You're seeing these huge fluctuations all over, even in high gear. And these fluctuations, for instance, this one has a high of about 87, and the low of the fluctuation is about 82, which is I think just over 6% swing. You can imagine the complexity of tuning, whether it's auto tune or you have it turned off and you're just doing it the old-fashioned way. When you're moving 6% on fuel pressure and you're trying to target an air-fuel ratio and you have all these dynamic changes happening, it's just one more thing to be chasing your tail about that you don't have to. Basically, that air is getting down into the feed line, and like I said, moving the fuel pressure all over the place. So this is not only, you know, concerning in terms of like the safety of the tune, but also the power. Obviously, these things aren't going to land in the same place at the same time. So if you're trying to correct cells and clean things up, you might be trying to hit a moving target. So that was the before. It's obviously pretty ugly. Now, some people would probably just put a filter on that, which, right, wrong, or indifferent, it seems like it's the wrong way to correct an actual issue, especially because there is an underlying cause. So in lieu of that, you know, this thing was just dumping right in there. This tube wasn't in here before. So basically the fuel was just jettisoning down into the bottom of the tank and aerating the fuel, which then was being picked up and sent right back through the system. Well, we went ahead and cut the old fitting off, welded a tube to the fitting, and then the tube is actually angle cut to go against the wall. You can actually see the pickup down there. So now it kind of like returns fuel on that ledge, and then the pickup is down at the very bottom. So what that does is it still could have aeration, but it's being directed away from that bottom pickup rather than directly into it, because you can imagine the spread of bubbles and aeration coming directly down, depending on the fuel amount, can get better, worse, all that. And let's go to the data log here right now, and I'll just kind of show you how much it's cleaned up. So now we'll show you what it looked like after Jim welded the extension tube into it, and we went back out to the track. All right, so now we're looking at this yellow line. This is your fuel pressure. Even look at on the two-step how much smoother it is, considerably smoother. And then if you want to look at the true test of it, we're going from 89.9 on a peak to 87.7 on a valley, which is under 3% fuel pressure swings, so less than half of what we were having before, and generally speaking, it's just a lot more consistent. Now, is there still some aeration happening? Potentially, depending on how much fuel you're running in the car, where it's at in the run, all that stuff. Is it perfect? Maybe not, but without it getting into some complex swirl pot type of situations to create an environment where it never sees a single amount of aeration, this is a pretty easy and effective fix to what we were dealing with. And you can imagine how much easier it is to feel good about the tune-up when the fuel pressure fluctuations are where they're at. We could still probably add a filter for this, but chances are these are actually probably real fluctuations, which can and will happen, but the main thing is that we're substantially better, and I think with fuel pressure regulators on the market, a lot of them will have a 3 or 4% swing potentially built into them. So this could easily be, just general dynamics of fuel systems in and of themselves. But obviously, just even more than just appealing to the eye, you can just tell it's a lot happier. So I would say, generally speaking, it was mission accomplished, and if nothing else, it made us feel a lot better. You may be thinking, well, it's just a data log, it's fine, it's just data. But it's not. I mean, you have to imagine if there's air being entered into the system, you want good flow. When air is making up part of what's going into your fuel rails and fuel system, your injectors, you can imagine how dangerous that can be in the tune-up, not only for consistency, but for safety and power and everything else in between. So when you're designing your own fuel cell, or if you take a look at yours, you may already have that same fuel trace. Some people might be pretty quick to just go ahead and throw like some type of a filter on the data, which can definitely be a bad thing, because sometimes the data is the data. You start covering up bad data, you start covering up bad traces like that, and you're really just covering up a problem that actually does exist. So fix the actual problem anytime you possibly can. This is one of those times, and like I said, you're going to pick up safety, durability, power, and everything else in between. So quick tech tip today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. These are just things, as we race our own cars while we're building parts for you guys, we're picking these things up, we're remembering them sometimes, and we want to bring you all of these basic pieces of knowledge. That way, when you get a car out to the track like this, you can jump right through all of the little hurdles that they present you, and hopefully reference these, and just have a better working, safer hot rod all across the board, and just get back to enjoying it and winning races. So thanks for tuning in. If you guys have ideas for the next Tech Tip Tuesday, be sure to drop them down below. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, anything we learn on our own hot rods, we're going to go ahead and bring to you guys free of charge. The only thing we ask is that you share with friends, subscribe and like, and we'll see you guys next time. Another small tip while we're here on fuel cells: you can never have too big of a vent. With something that returns as much fuel as this potentially does, especially depending on pump size, you can actually build pressure up in this. If you have a small vent, which is often overlooked, pressure gets built up inside this, and it creates all kinds of weird dynamics. So put yourself in a large vent. This one is a 12 AN. Notice it's the same size as the return. That's purposely done, and it has a rollover built into it. Again, oftentimes overlooked. Not as much on fuel cells, but definitely on factory style tanks that people are putting big pumps in. They almost never pay attention to the return size. So this is a big deal, and it's something that should not be overlooked.